So now it is my honor and privilege to introduce our inspirational speaker for this evening, which is our very own Reverend Glenn Coles. He has been involved with the Star of Hope Spiritualist Church since 2013, and he has an extensive background in public speaking. His work with light workers of the world provides a large window into the current evolution of mankind. Reverend Glenn, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mary. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that we got your things working at your end. And Reverend Mary Catherine, again, thank you so much for leading that meditation. It helped me kind of drift into a place of peace. And that is the topic that I'm going to address tonight. As always, when I'm looking at making a presentation to this group, I think, what is pertinent now? What is the message coming through that is the most important to talk about today? And as I identify what's going on in the world around me, I know what's also going on in the world around you. The world's rather chaotic at the moment. We've had the COVID thing going on. We've had lockdowns. We've had economic issues. We've had weather issues. We got all this stuff going on. And it has its impact on people. In the group that I run, the Light Workers of the World, I'm seeing a reflection of what's happening in mass consciousness coming from all different parts of the world. And there's a higher level of depression, and there's a higher level of anxiety, and there's higher levels of confusion, and there's higher levels of anger. And all of these things are going on for people. Part of it exists because of the scenario. With the lockdowns, I know myself, I've spent more time alone in the past year than I had probably in the past 10 years. Simply because I'm living in a box. You know, with the lockdown, instead of going out to gatherings, I'm staying at home and doing it on Zoom. Instead of having dinner parties, I'm eating by myself. So that's the world that we're in right now. And we adapt to it. I think it's all necessary. I think it's all progressive, but it has its impact. So the topic that I wanted to address is how to remain spiritual in chaotic times. And the first thing I'm going to say is it's not just simply being good. It's not saying, okay, I'm going to be a spiritual person. It is grabbing for yourself the power that comes from being spiritual. And in the grabbing of that power, you gain power, you gain strength, you gain the ability to better navigate through the world as it's zooming around. I like to think that when you're surfing on a wave, maintaining your own balance is the most important part. And once you've got your balance, whatever way the wave goes, you can flow with it. So I'm going to address four key areas that are the greatest benefits of being in spiritual mode. And the first one is the concept of inner peace. We all know that feeling. We all know that feeling in a specific moment of inner peace. Many of us achieved it tonight during the meditation, that moment when the breath is in and the lungs are full and the mind is quiet and the body is just existing. And as you exhale, it sets up the scenario to repeat the cycle. Life is breath. And when we are capable of achieving that solitary moment of inner peace, much like riding a bicycle, we know what it feels like. We know what it is to be there. We can form a scenario in our head. One of my go-to places is the hammock beside the lake of the cottage where I grew up. And anytime a meditation guide says, you know, put yourself in a place of peace, well, I put myself sitting in that hammock, looking at the lake and listening to the loons. That for me provides inner peace. Someone else, my friend Wayne, might have his moment of inner peace being in the airplane in the sky all alone, flying as a pilot. Right? That moment of peace because you're all by yourself and all you hear is the wind. Right? So we each have our moments of inner peace. The trick to inner peace is to continually go back there, to make it a habit, to make it part of your life. In order to do this, you must raise your awareness. And the first level of awareness that comes to you is mind chatter. Mind chatter, the stories that go on in our minds, the analysis, the doubts, the reliving, the fears, the angers, all the different things that go on in our brain. They may be necessary, but if we allow them to dominate our existence, they will. If we allow the stories of the past to be with us every day, then that keeps us in the past. If we allow the painful memories to continually replay themselves in our mind, what are we doing? We are moving away from inner peace. But the only thing that's changed is the electronic thought patterns that are in your mind that are creating and bringing those thoughts to the surface. When you have thoughts that make you sad, what's happening? As those thoughts are running through your mind, there is a biochemical change in your body. When you have anxiety, there is a different biochemical change. There's different thoughts, fear thoughts. Oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Is everything going to be okay? And your adrenaline goes up and there's a rush that goes with those thought patterns. Maintaining your spiritual self includes the ability to separate yourself from your thoughts. You are not dominated. Your thoughts are one of the things that you do, but you are a soul that exists above your thoughts. And as you gain your power to separate from that mind chatter, you also gain your power to be stronger spiritually and to find that inner peace. So the inner peace from spirituality is something that we've all felt. We all know how it feels. And the secret is to just keep going back there. Now, the next area I will speak about, a benefit of spirituality, is hope. Hope is the belief that things will work out, the belief that it will get better, the belief that things are going to come your way, all based upon a future that we want, a future that we desire. And hope is a survival instinct that comes to people in the most difficult times of their lives. When your house burns down, I hope I can, continue to exist. If you look at the history of mankind, there's been a lot of pain and damage. And what kept people going? The hope that there was something better, the hope that there was more. Hope is faith in something that we really don't control. It's the belief that, yes, I'm a good person and good things are going to come my way. And hope is also the feeling that when the good things don't come your way, we convince ourselves that, okay, that was just a learning exercise for me. I failed that exam and didn't get my certificate. Well, that was good for me because it caused me to go back and take the same course a second time. And the second time I really understood it and I passed with flying colors. If I had passed the first time, then I would have been ineffective because I hadn't really learned the material. Hope carries us forward. Hope says there's always more, and at the same time allows us to rationalize that the experiences we have are good for us. The next element of spirituality that has a major impact is wonder. The wonder that enters our soul as we look around and experience the world around us. Imagine looking into a bird's nest and watching a robin's egg hatch, and seeing that crack form on the egg, and seeing the little beak start to poke out, and then the little head, and the next thing you know, there's a living creature there that suddenly begins to squawk because it wants to be fed. That's magical. That moment of magic of watching that egg hatch and a new life come into the world. Lightning in the sky, stars, shooting stars that go over, the leaves blowing in the trees. They're all wonder. They're all forms of beauty. And as we move through with open eyes, like a child going, oh, wow, look at that, stuff starts to happen. There's synchronicities. There's things that happen in our lives. There's coincidences. That we've heard the saying, there are no coincidences. One time I had a job interview, and it was one of those panel interviews where there were three people sitting on one side of the table, and I was sitting in a chair in the middle of the room, and they were all asking questions of me. And behind these three people was a big floor-to-ceiling glass window, and of course, the sky off in the distance. Now, they had positioned the room that way on purpose because the way the lighting works was it made them more like silhouettes. They were in the position of power in that room. I was sitting in the center, fully lit up. They could all see me, and I saw three silhouettes. I could see their faces. It wasn't that distinct, but I can know what I mean. They were in an advantaged position for that interview, and they would take turns, all three of them, asking me questions about my capabilities to take on this particular job. And as they're asking the questions, I notice out the window, flying across the sky, is an airplane, and it's towing a sign. And the sign says, there are better jobs out there. And I'm sitting in my job interview, and it's just sort of, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Well, after the interview, one of the women who was on the panel was a close friend of mine, and she had arranged the interview for me. She says, Glenn, what happened? She says, like, halfway through the interview, you changed. Your attitude changed. Everything changed. You know, what brought that on? And I told her this plane had flown by with this sign, and she says, well, what did you think it was? A message from God? And I said, yes. Well, I didn't get that job, and 2 weeks later, I got a job that paid double, literally double the amount of money. So the universe had forewarned me that don't settle for anything less than what you deserve. That sense of wonder, as we keep our eyes open, we see things. As we pick up things, it's exciting. And as we gain that excitement, we see more. It's a beautiful cycle that we create for ourselves. And finally, within the cycle of spirituality comes empowerment. And that is the most important, the most critical element of this choice to be a spiritual person, because being empowered gives you strength. It gives you the ability to influence your life and your experiences and the outcomes. Being empowered says, yes, I am guiding this path. And even though we know that we're not in control of the path, things are going to happen different from what we expect. Things are going to happen different from what we want. People are going to react differently than we had anticipated. I mean, there's all this stuff going on, and that is the chaos of existence. But being empowered says, no matter what waves come my way, I'm balanced. I can surf those waves. Now, one of the greatest tricks about empowerment is that it costs nothing to give it away. As we empower other people, we elevate them. As we tell people, hey, you know what, you're doing great, you're doing a good job, keep doing that good job, it elevates them. As we give them the ability of, hey, you're interested in doing such and such, let me open a door for you. As we empower others, their vibration accelerates and it feeds back to help us. What comes around goes around. So the act of empowerment isn't just taking. I'm sorry, I have to let somebody in who got kicked out. The act of empowerment isn't just taking, it is giving. Because by giving power to others, we create power for ourselves. So in summary, I've spoken about the 4 key benefits of being a spiritual person: the development of inner peace, the creation of hope, the continuous recognition of wonder, and the empowerment of self and others. Utilize these tools and you'll have a happier, more joyous life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn. That was